Hey, this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.driVe, and today we're going to be taking a look at the DH Sport Bike. Now we have three versions available to us, but we're going to mostly be using the Sport version because this one is the easiest to control. Even though this is easier to control than the other bikes, it is still pretty difficult because you need very gentle and precise inputs to make sure you don't accidentally flip it. So as a quick demonstration that I can control this thing, we're going to just go around this oval right here, which is very easy, but I wanted to make sure I started off easy here so I don't say, oh look, I can actually control it, and then I crash into a tree 5 seconds later. So right here, we're going about 60 miles per hour, increasing it just a little bit. And you see, no problem here, but I'm not going full lock on the steering. If I was to do that, we would tip over. I have to be about maybe like 1/6 of the way on my analog stick. We're doing it nice and gentle to make sure we don't accidentally tip over, and then we're through that. So now let's just floor it and have a little bit of a crash. Not quite as big as I wanted to because some of the parts didn't fall off, and I really want you guys to be able to see how many parts can fall off of this thing. The tire came back. Oh my goodness. I lost my train of thought. That stupid tire was just being so crazy. What I was saying is I want you guys to be able to see all the different parts that can actually fall off of this thing in an impact, and the easiest way to do that would be to use the break all brake groups button. So to get that, we're going to grab the vehicle debug buttons, and we're going to place those right there. Then we're going to go to the environment and we put it to 0 gravity, and now that it's floating in the air, we just hit break all brake groups and you can see all of the different parts. So for example, we have the main frame of the bike, which does not separate from the engine. Then we also have the fuel tank right there. We have the tire. Then over here we have the actual seat. We have the muffler, and then we have the other tire. So now let's see if we can get those pieces to fall off in an actual impact. So we'll go back to Earth gravity, and then we're gonna go straight across the oval. We're not even gonna drive on it. We're just gonna go right into it, dive into the center, and then floor it and go as fast as we possibly can. Gonna bounce a little bit, don't even care. 100 plus on the impact. And what do we have coming off? Looks like everything came off but the seats and the muffler, which is actually pretty much the same as the other impact, isn't it? Oh well, reset that, and then let's go ahead and just try out the other version of the bike. We're gonna skip ahead though. We're gonna go straight to the TT Special. And now I want to try to do something incredibly stupid that I happened to do purely by coincidence earlier while testing out the bike. So first we're going to get it down to the flat area here, we're going to get it up to speed, and then we're going to slam on the brakes and see if we can get it to land upright. Yeah, like that looks so ridiculous, and it's so awesome. And now I just had another idea that I think would be pretty cool, so let's go and respawn this thing. We're going to try to slide the bike under the barrier, so we just go like so. Oh, well, I don't think that's ever going to work. I think the barrier is actually a solid object. Like, it's not actually an area you can go below it. It's just one big solid barrier. So to test that, we'll just grab the fuel tank, and yeah, it's hitting the invisible part of the barrier. What a shame. Anyways, let's go ahead and go to a more traditional map. How about we head over to a grid map to do a little bit of crash testing with the bike. First thing we gotta do is line up the bike in the position I want it. So I'm keeping things nice and simple here. We're going to line up the bike straight ahead of this position right here. Now, just a quick overview of the three different bikes that are available to you guys. First, you have the Sport, which is basically the base version of the bike. Then we have the Super Sport, which has faster steering, a little bit more grip, but is not as good as the Sport in terms of stability for me. Then we have the TT Special, which has more power, even faster steering, and more grip, but is extremely difficult to control, as the description says. Now for this test, I'm going to just go with the Super Sport because it really doesn't matter which one we use, because I plan to go in a perfectly straight line, or at least really close to that. So the first car we're going to crash into is going to be the Pigeon, because I think the bike actually makes more power than the Pigeon. At least it feels like it when you're driving back to back. The bike feels so much faster than the Pigeon. Even when you have the 600cc one, it feels faster. Now, truthfully, I wouldn't be surprised, though, if the slowest Pigeon does have less horsepower than the fastest bike. So we're going to park the Pigeon right about here. Then we'll go to the bike and see if it'll go in a straight enough line to just smash into the Pigeon by basically flooring it. A little bit of steering required. And let's see, how much damage did it do to the Pigeon? So this is actually the side it hit it on. So you can see it did do some damage, but the amount is pretty insignificant for how fast it was traveling because the bike is simply so light. With the damage being that minimal, why not go ahead and charge at it again? So charge number 2 into the rear. Ooh, it actually popped it up onto its side a little bit. Now, I haven't actually looked at the damage for the bike in this situation on the first one, but looking at the outcome of that collision, I see nothing wrong with the way the bike looks. It looks pretty good. Now, as for the pigeon, we do have a pretty significant amount of damage after the second collision, but I'm pretty sure it could keep driving if it really wanted to. Yes, it could. Now, let's see how the bike fares against a real car, one that weighs a lot more than a pigeon, and I mean a lot more. We're going to step up all the way to a roamer, which is a big, fat vehicle, but we'll get the inline 6 version because I want the one that'll sit nice and low so the bike doesn't actually go under it, although that would be something fun to try with an off-roader. Here we go, right into the side of it. Gonna go as fast as we can again. Perfect, and wow, much different outcome right there. It looked like the bike was basically hitting a solid object. How is the roamer doing? Got a little bit of damage on the fender right there and the door a little bit as well, but seriously, all the damage is on the bike. So you know what, just for fun, let's go ahead and do that one more time. We're gonna line up the roamer in about the same position it was at before, and then here we go. Maybe this time we'll hit it more in the side. Yes. So right into the door. Got some damage on the door, but the bike's in the way, so I'll move the bike out of the way, and now he can take a look at the door. And it actually did a pretty decent amount of damage to the door, but once again, there's just so little mass there, it's never going to do that much damage to the vehicle. Now, as for the stupid idea I was saying earlier, let's start off a little bit easier. I'm pretty sure the dry van trailer will have more ground clearance than an off-road vehicle, or at least it'll have a wider area for me to drive under, so we'll start off with that. And is the angling correct? Yes, but it's a little bit in the ground. Let's see, is it going to get itself out on its own? Doesn't look like it, so we'll just try to pull it. Come on, out of the ground with you. I think that's as high as we're going to get it. So can we get the bike to fit under there? Maybe. I really don't know. At the end of this test, I expect to have a bike that is stuck on its side. So we're going to go fast, and then we're going to just slide it. And yes, it can actually fit under there. Can we get somehow miraculously lucky and have it land upright? Probably not. Although we have so much ground clearance, it almost looks like we can kind of just duck under it. So we just go like that, and actually, that works. If it wasn't for the jump at the end, there is no reason we couldn't have kept driving. That is awesome. Let's see if we can do it where we go under the trailer, hit the jump, and then keep on going. Although I am kind of curious, do we even need to actually dive? Like if we hit the tallest part of the trailer, can we drive right under it? Let's see. Yes, we can. That is the cheatiest way of doing that, although I hit the jumps excellently. That was amazing to me. Now let's go and just wreck this thing in an unexpected way because it's gyroscopically keeping itself upright somehow. That's just funny looking. So let's replace the trailer with something with less ground clearance, and I think the tanker trailer actually has a little bit less ground clearance, but it still has that big wide area to be able to try to drive under. Yeah, definitely less ground clearance there, so we actually will have to slide under it here. And I don't mean slide on our side, I mean just slide like that. It worked! Except for the stupid jump, it worked! That was awesome. Let's see if we can do it one more time just because the first time looked so cool. So we're going to go 60-ish miles per hour. We dive down and then we level out and hit the jump. And can we somehow land upright after that? No, because we lost our front wheel. Unfortunate. And just to make sure what I'm doing actually has a point, let's go at this thing perfectly straight and make sure we do hit the top of it. Yes, we do. And the bike will light on fire in the process. All right. I think that's about all I want to do for crash testing. So now let's try to just drive this thing around on some normal roads for a bit. And then we'll probably be done with it. So I want to start with some pretty flat roads. So we're going to go to Utah, USA on the tourist area. We're going to go with the fastest version of the bike. And then we're going to flip it over instantly, try to drive it again, and then flip it over again. At least that's what I expect to happen. Now, one thing that's kind of cool about this one is if you just floor it, you could actually pop a wheelie, and if you keep flooring it, you go completely upside down, which looks absolutely ridiculous. And right there, that is actually a good demonstration of the way the kickstand works, because I don't know if you've seen that yet if you weren't paying attention. So when you're at a stop, the kickstand will actually keep you upright. When you start to move a little bit, it automatically goes up. And then when you come to a stop, it goes back down automatically. Now, most of the time it goes down when you're already on your side or flipped over with me driving this thing. But every now and then it actually works to keep you upright. Right there you saw I was just a little bit unbalanced, and then the kickstand was not enough to keep me upright. So like right here, if we stop really hard, that actually worked because we weren't too unbalanced. But if we steer just a little bit like that, falling over. So it's pretty precise, and if you can get it right, it works great. Now, as for actually driving the fastest version of the bike, with the touchiest steering. Get out of the dirt, get out of the dirt, get out of the dirt. Oh, come on, get out. That's not even, this should not be kicking up dirt. I'm on the side of the road. All right, we're good. You know what? Let's go crazy here. Just gonna go fast off the cliff. 100 and flying. Got a nice flip, and ooh, the bush can really grab the bike. I didn't think about that. I guess because it has so little mass behind it, the bush will just stop it instantly. That is super deadly. Like normally you'll hit a bush and it's like, oh, you did a little bit of damage. With this, I bet if you hit a bush, it just kills you. So there's a bush straight ahead right here. We're gonna just see what happens. Like going at a normal speed. Yeah, it stops you and then you tip over. And then you could do absolute nonsense like that when you're on your side in the middle of the dirt. Kind of funny. One thing you do have to watch out for is making sure you start on terrain that's actually usable. Like sometimes you'll end up starting in a way where it's like you can't get onto the road because you're at a really awkward angle or something like that. Or if you try to get on the road, every time you do it, you'll flip over or tip over very easily, as I'm trying to demonstrate right there. It's like, how would you get on the road? Well, you kind of screwed yourself over, to be honest, because you're not going to really be able to fix it unless you respawn it at a different location. Now, you could do that by hitting F7 like I did right there, which actually put me in a terrible, terrible direction. Or you could just hit insert until it lines you up in the direction you want to be. And right here, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk. I'm going to go through the dirt. And, you know, it does it surprisingly well going through the dirt, to be honest with you. It's not great, but it's surprisingly well. And oops! I don't know if you noticed that, but when you first spawn this up, so I'm going to spawn it and then freeze it in position, the tires are a little bit in the ground, and then it pops up. So if you start accelerating instantly, it's going to be real jerky, and you'll just tip over basically instantly. You got to make sure you wait until the tires are above ground before you start accelerating. So now let's actually try to drive on the road for a little bit before we tip over instantly. And that'll probably be all we do with the bike, because I'm pretty much out of ideas, because, well, as you can see, can't really do too much driving with me doing this. I am just very scared to do anything, and I'm very bad at it, and this thing is getting all wiggly because it is not good with any sort of bumps in the terrain. Like 30 miles per hour, I feel safe doing about that. Maybe 40, but right here, you see, it is just starting to jiggle, and oh goodness, there's a huge corner ahead of me. That is my mortal enemy. Here we go. Dive into it. Harder, not too hard. Thank you. I think with this one, you could actually really lean it into the corners and you don't have to worry so much. Where the other ones, if you lean it too hard, it's easier to get it on its side. Like this one, you can go way down there and then it'll pull itself up. I think that's the biggest difference in terms of grip, or at least it feels like that to me, because the other ones, I don't think I could trust them on these steeper corners. The balance got disrupted and then it was ruined. See, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody eventually makes a mod for this where it attaches the stabilizers from the pigeon onto the bike. That'd be hilarious and totally functional. Anyways, that will do it. So until next time, this has been WhyBeAre. I want to have something really dumb happen where I can just kind of fling it about like so to finish things up. And I'll see ya! Also, a quick sample of what the bike sounds like, just in case you wanted to hear it without me talking.